Welcome to Fearlessly Made You. I am your host, Kristie Tobias. Joining me today are guests just striving to dominate in their personal and professional lives while answering the question, what does it mean to be fearlessly made? On this episode of Fearlessly Made You, y'all are in for a treat. You get to have another Tobias in your midst. So my youngest brother, Josh Tobias, is joining us today. Josh, because he has the honor of being my brother, that's his primary job, of course, but his other job, Josh is actually a retired professional baseball player, and he is currently a pro scout with the Boston Red Sox, but I'm not going to talk to you guys about all of that. I'm going to have him talk to you guys. So Josh, welcome to Fearlessly Made You.
Hey, excited to be on here. Been following the Fearlessly Made You podcast since they started. Yeah, my primary job is her brother. So how old am I? 28 long, hard years of just stress. She used to bully me and stuff. Like, it's been a tough road, but I'm here. I made it. Fearlessly made it here. So I'm back. But yeah, played baseball my whole life. Played at University of Florida for 4 years. Then got drafted by the Phillies. Played with them for 2, and then played with the Red Sox for about 4. Made it all the way to AAA. Retired during the COVID pandemic year in 2020, and got a scouting job about a month or 2 later. I think I'm coming on. If I look at my calendar, it'll be a year of scouting in 11 days. So
has it been doing a year?
That. Yeah, my contract is to the 31st of October. And it'll be a year. And obviously I got a new contract probably 3-4 weeks ago. So it'll restart for 2 years this coming October 31st.
Well, congratulations on that, because that's exciting for sure.
Yeah.
Y'all don't listen to him. I did not bully him. I only gave him learning lessons that he needed to have.
Yeah.
But no, Josh, that's kind of cool because, and one of the multiple reasons why I want to have Josh on, and he's the first of the Tobiases that you guys will get the chance to meet. But Josh and I probably are the most alike in so many things out of our siblings. But one of the cool things that I love about Josh is he's pretty honest and vulnerable about just kind of the things that he's gone through. And he talks to kids, he talks to people about it. And so, Josh, I think one of the things that you already said, living your fearlessly made existence, but I think there's something to be said about being a professional athlete and having been someone that watched your journey from a child on up to now. That's hard. There's so much stress, there's so much pressure that you have to endure, period. And so I think there's so many people that would love to hear a little bit of what that journey looks like for you. And especially now, because when we talk about, mental health and things like that, and I know you just had the chance to speak to a group about mental health, I think there's something really powerful in your story. So why don't you kind of dive into a little bit of what that journey has looked like for you in baseball and what the mental health journey is looking like for you now as well?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, I played since I was at least 5 years old. I was at the field sun up to sundown from 10 years old till I was 26. So played a lot. I wouldn't say I was very good when I was younger. I had to work my ass off to get to where I was to be able to kind of have offers and stuff. But yeah, played travel ball, worked out all the time, got to middle school, high school, kind of became like that dude. Like the guy was like, okay, this kid's the best kid in this state. And with that came a lot of pressure. I mean, not externally and internally. Like, I mean, if you know Kristie, you know me, we both put a lot of expectations on ourselves because we like to succeed. So I grew up needing to be perfect, sort of, in terms of like, I want to get all these offers. I want to make sure I make it to the big leagues and stuff. So high school kind of came easy to me. It was like, all right, like these kids, you could tell I was a league above these kids, not to sound arrogant, not to toot my own horn, but I was decently pretty good. And then got a scholarship to the University of Florida. I think at my high school, I was the first kid to go to like a Power 5 conference. So it was a pretty big deal. I got to play on national TV in high school for his Aflac All-American game. I think the name has since changed, but that was my first kind of big break in terms of like being on TV and being nationally recognized as a prospect coming out of high school. And then,
which is amazing.
Oh yeah, it was great. They have that game every August on TV, and there's a lot of kids I've played with on that team have gone to play pro ball. Like Javier Baez is on my team. He's with the Mets. He's with the who's he with now? He's with the Mets now. He was with the Cubs before. And then Francisco Lindor is on that. So I've had a bunch of guys that are stars that I played with. So like that kind of gives you the caliber of the guys I was playing with and against. But
and I think to pause real quick too to that, Josh, like, because I think too, Josh is really great at talking about where he's been in that journey, but like to emphasize, he's not just playing with these guys. Like Josh is at that level, and there's that pressure and that stress. And I know you'll dive into this more, but to level set and to also kind of uplift and empower you too, Josh, like being able to watch my baby brother, like making those transitions and seeing him at this level of people that I'm like, I know those names. It's kind of crazy because as your sister too, and as someone that thinks the way you do, as you said, like we put a lot of pressures on ourselves. I also was worried and concerned too, because that's a lot for you. So I know you're going to keep diving into it, but just wanted to kind of level set for people that are like, who are those people? Like, if you don't know those people, you don't follow baseball, which is totally fine. But when we're talking about like high caliber, like exceptional playing, that is where Josh was in the league of people he was playing with.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. I mean, like the kind of expectation / stress level kind of like, it had different, I guess, sections in my life. Like high school, it started getting like, okay, like he's going to go to the pros. Like everybody in my high school was like, hey, like you're going to get drafted, right? You're going to take the money, right? Or you're going to go to college. So like, and that was a big thing for me. Like I internalized it a lot. I didn't tell people I was stressed. I just wouldn't play. And I was talented enough to not let the stress affect my play because I had a decent amount of skill to where it didn't overshadow it. But then got drafted in the 31st round by the Nationals, decided to go to college at University of Florida. Our whole family's big on education. I mean, Jesus, got 3 PhDs, a master's. And
we have so many degrees in our family.
I tell everybody, they're like, what did your family do? I'm like, I'm the dumbest person in the family. I have one degree, and it's a geology degree. And I'm not doing anything with it. Like I have a PhD in baseball, but there's no diploma for that. But I tell people, I was telling a scout that the other day, and he was like, his jaw dropped. I was like, yeah, man, like expectations were high at Tobias' household for grades.
Yep. I don't have a PhD. Josh and I and our baby sister are living the non-PhD life, and we are okay with it.
I'm good. I got enough student loans. But fast forward to college. Yep. That's kind of when the talent gap kind of shortened a little bit. So you kind of see guys that were the best in their high schools, especially at University of Florida. Yeah. It's one of the best sports schools in the world and everything. Like you saw that little talent gap shorten, and you said, okay, like these guys are just as good as I was from different states. So the pressure kind of kicked in a notch.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. Like I don't regret my time at University of Florida. It was a wild experience. There were expectations put on you there, and if you didn't meet those expectations, like you might not be playing, and that's just how the program's run. It's not to a fault or anything, and I'm honestly kind of glad it was that way because it kind of helped me on my journey down the road. Like Absolutely. It was a cutthroat world there. Like I had odd number roommates that got cut or to different schools because they just couldn't cut it and they couldn't handle it. Like SEC's a big money school, and you got to produce.
Yeah. Well, and you say something that's really important because for those of you that are listening or watching that maybe weren't athletes, we were athletes growing up clearly, and Josh is the PhD athlete of all of us. We all tried. Josh excelled. But with that conversation too is as you make it to that caliber, I think some people don't understand being a professional athlete, your business is your body and how it performs, and then also how you're marketable. Like, cause people just see like the sport, but there's so much that goes into it. And I think you have such a great story around, like, I remember the conversation about you being the most interesting player in baseball. And I think there's that story, and I definitely want you to tell more about that story, but to level set for everyone, I think there's so much, and you're watching people leave their dreams because they couldn't cut it. And it's that question and that pressure for you of, am I next? So there is the physical pressure, but there's the mental pressure and there's the how am I coming off pressure to other people. So people see me as a good player. And I learned all of this from Josh because Lord knows I didn't make it to any type of professional sports, but watching him and being part of that journey with him has really opened my eyes a lot to that. So Josh, I'd love for you to kind of continue, of course, on that dialogue about that pressure, but talking about, kind of some of the things for you, that conversation around being that most interesting player, but what that meant for you and how you marketed that for yourself as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it definitely helped me out in college. It helped me out more so in pro ball to got the personality I have. I mean, like you said, rewind until like it's your body and stuff like that. Like I think college might be a little harder sometimes because you got to balance your marketability, your body, and then you got to make good grades on top of that. So they say you got to choose two things: your sport, your books, or social life. And it's not social life, so
that's not there.
It was a grind, but I mean, my personality, the way I was brought up, definitely helped me. I mean, I was well known around campus just because I was I still am. I was kind of a goofy dude, but easy to talk to. And like, I'd do interviews and make jokes and stuff. And it kind of got out. Like everybody always wanted to interview me if I had a good game. Like, cause I wouldn't give just the bland answers. Like I'd talk to you as a person. Like they saw me as a person, not just an athlete. And definitely in college, that was the way I went about my life. I didn't tell people I played sports. I didn't wear any baseball stuff. I was in class with this girl and these guys for like 2 years straight, and they didn't know I played baseball till my junior year. And they're like, "Why'd you tell us?" I was like, "So I want you to know me for me. Like, I want you to know who I am as a person."
I love that.
And then you see me on the field, and you know me. Like, okay, like you don't see an athlete because I mean, I'll change personas a little bit on the field. Like, I'm not like a dick or anything, but like I'm ready to grind. And I may not be. I'm serious, and I'll get into that transformation later too.
Yeah. No, you bring up something that I think a lot of people struggle with, which is identity. And I think that for you is so important. And a lot of your identity, like you said, you had to separate it. I didn't realize actually, which is very interesting. I didn't realize like you didn't tell people, although that doesn't surprise me at all with the person that you are. For those of you that I know are watching, I'm thinking about our crew of people that know all of us, our entire family, and then your friends. That's not surprising to them at all. Like they know you. We all know that about you. You are always the charismatic, just fun guy because that's who you are, but you can't always be that person. So I know you had to kind of figure out like what your identity was when it wasn't wrapped up in baseball. So I almost want to kind of flash forward a little bit too. And you can take this wherever you want, but where your identity changed and how you had to, because you were setting that foundation for yourself of who you are, period. Whether baseball was there or not, but there's that pressure of other people telling you your identity is baseball. And then you made the decision like, so it's not. Like you may still be in the game as far as from a professional perspective, you're not playing anymore. And that's a hard transition for you. So I'd love to kind of dive into that a little bit too. Yeah.
I think the biggest change, so the year that I changed the most was my senior year of college. Junior year going into senior, because junior year I didn't get drafted. Like I thought I was gonna get drafted. I didn't play half the year, not because I was hurt, just because I didn't play well. I wasn't good enough, and a freshman took my spot, and that really humbled me a lot.
Yeah,
a lot. And my senior year, I was sitting there. I was a real serious. Like I was serious on the field to a fault, to where like that's when my anxiety would start kicking in. Like I would be like nervous, sweating, like about to throw up before games, just because I wanted to play well and do well. And my senior year, I was sitting in the locker room. I don't think I was playing one game. And like, excuse my language here, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, I don't play anymore. Like, that's already happened. And
that's true.
That's what I can't go back. I already didn't play. Like, it's like, it happened already.
Yeah.
And mom actually with that too. She said, can't get any worse. Like, can't get any worse than that. So
what else happens here?
Yeah. So, like, in the locker room, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to change a little bit. Just, like, put more of who I am outside the field into who I am on the field. Like,
I love that.
I just started being goofy, just started having fun, just being this carefree dude, which I always was in the locker room, but I'd do it more on the field. Like, if I struck out, I'd be like, oh, well, like, who cares? I got another bat in about 5-10 minutes. We'll see what happens.
That's true. Well, and it's funny because I remember watching you when I came up to Portland when you were playing. I think you were AA at that time. And it was right after, I think, the cat days where you had a picture with you and the cat. And that was like on the front page of some show. But it was funny because we had so much, almost too much fun, different conversation. We had a lot of fun then when I was there with you. But it was cool seeing you in that space because you were really kind of your own person. And I know there were a lot of things that you were still kind of working through yourself, but it was like you were starting to figure out where your identity existed, when it wasn't just about the seriousness of the game, because, both of us share that, like, when we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, we already have that anxiety, but it just doubles and it just makes it kind of so difficult and uncomfortable to try and live life with that level of anxiety and pressure. So it's cool to see that transition and to hear that transition from you as well. And so I'm curious for you, you talked about being fearlessly made coming into this podcast, but I would love to know for you what the dialogue is for what it means for you to be fearlessly made, and to kind of level set. When we talk about fearlessly made we talk about, like, it's not being without fear. It's just not letting that fear own you. And I feel like you've done a great lead up into that. So talk to us a little more about, like, what it means for you to be fearlessly made.
For me, I mean, just personally, for the fearlessly made was just to drop my restraints. I had so many preconceived notions of where I should be and what I should do and who I got to do it for. And, like, fear is your brain's response to protect you. Like, you're going to be afraid. You're always going to be afraid. It's to protect yourself. But being able to go through that fear and just do what you want to do and just be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's one of the sayings I use. Like, if you're comfortable in something, like, either you love it or it's something that you shouldn't be doing. Like, it depends. And that's the big thing for me. Just be comfortable, like, not worrying about what people thought of me when I decided to retire, like, not worrying what people thought of me when I was stepped away from the game. And that was the biggest thing for me. Like, it took me a little bit to figure it out, because, like, I sat in my room at night, like, thinking, like, oh, everybody thinks I'm a failure. Like, I let my family down, let my friends down, like, I let my coaches down, and, like, just dropping the weight off your shoulders and living your life, like, living your own fearlessly made you life, like you say.
I love it. Dusting it off the shoulders. I love it.
Literally. like Lil Boozy said.
The famous Lil Boozy. So one of the things that is pretty cool though now too is, as you said, like, kind of dusting it off your shoulders. The cool transition for you is, and for me, and I could say probably for our whole family, is watching you now. I mean, be the Josh that we see constantly and all the time, but sitting in this space where you are able to own your journey, and what that looks like. And so I think what would be cool is kind of to hear, because I don't know if a lot of people know what it means for you to be a pro scout, and, like, kind of what day in the life looks like for you, but also how that feels now for you, because you're operating in a different level and you're kind of approaching things in a little different way. So talk to us a little bit more about kind of what that feels like, and then kind of day in the life, what that looks like for you. Because I know right now you are not wherever your home base typically is, which is everywhere, but you're in a hotel room, I think, right now.
Yep. I'm actually currently in Scottsdale, Arizona. Give you a little intake on what I've been traveling the last week and a half. 2 weeks. I was in Chicago watching the White Sox for about 6 days, flew home for 2 days, and then flew to Los Angeles to watch the Dodgers. And then they were playing the Giants in a series, so we had to watch the Dodgers in San Francisco for 2 games, and then fly back to Los Angeles, watch them for 2 games, and then fly back to San Francisco to watch them for 1 game. And then I flew from San Francisco straight here, and I'm here for another 8 days. So
wow. That's more traveling than I used to do. Yeah.
I rack up the hotel points. I'm on your level now, Kristie. Like, I might be past it.
You might be like titanium plus.
160 nights this year.
Oh, wow. And when you're going to those games, like, you're not just watching. Like, it was interesting hearing Josh talk to us about, like, everything he does at games and, like, what the reporting looks like afterwards. So tell us a little bit about, like, when you're at those games, what are you doing and what are you looking at?
Oh, yeah. So if it's like it depends. If it's like a regular season game, like if it's minor leagues or big leagues, like, basically I'm keeping tabs I had both teams this year, so I'd keep tabs on both teams playing. So pitcher's throwing, I'm charting his velos down. I'm charting how his ball moves. I'm charting how hitters take swings off of it. I'm charting what he does to get people out, what he's not doing well. I'm taking in his body, what he looks like. Is he projectable? Is he going to grow more? Is he maxed out? I'm doing that for everybody on the field. And then on top of that, I'm either projecting on where they're going to be in the future or where they won't be. Either they're going to stay the same, are they going to be an organizational player, or could they potentially be an all-star in the future? And I got to project that. And they take the words, but they take what I say pretty seriously. Like, sometimes you're the only person that gets to look at them, and it goes deeper into, like, if we want to trade for this guy, or he's a free agent, or he's a Rule 5 guy, like, they'll look at the report you write and be like, hey, like, we like this guy. What do you got on him? Dig a little deeper. Like, how's his makeup? What kind of person is he? And then sometimes that's how I got traded to the Red Sox. They did a dive on me. I saw my reports too. It's crazy. I'm doing the same thing that they did on me. So
that's cool how it's come full circle for you too, because there's that conversation now, like the pressure that you experienced before, not that the pressure is off, but it's a different kind of pressure. And it's definitely something probably that's, I don't want to say a little more manageable, but it's just a different phase, like a season in your life now where you are, like you said, you've built that foundation. You kind of know where you are sitting from a mental health perspective as well, which I think is so important. And so thinking about that, what I'd love to know from you as well is you do such a great job of talking to people and kids. I used to love watching you at games, and you just would sign autographs for kids and talk to them, like you said, just like a normal person, because they saw you as a big kid, but also they just appreciated that. So if you were to give people advice, so someone that may be on their baseball journey or just be on a journey that's difficult and they're feeling that pressure and they're like, but how do I live that like fearless existence? What does that look like? What advice would you give people?
I think the first thing that you do is like get away from any kind of outward influence or even yourself and just be still. Like go sit in the park, collect your thoughts. You can be stressed, be still, and you'll be surprised at just the amount of like how you feel. Get your thoughts in motion. And then the biggest thing I say, don't take yourself too seriously. Mm-hmm. Like if you're trying to be on a fearlessly made you journey, like it's going to be rough. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. And don't put extra stress internally on yourself from that. Like you're already going to be stressed. Like stress is inevitable. Like you're not going to not be stressed. And then I would say just, I wrote it down actually. I said, don't expect perfection out of an imperfect person.
Love that. Oh,
yeah,
that's good.
That was, I underlined that actually.
You were prepared. Like, I'm taking notes.
Yeah. It's the only note I wrote. So I wanted to remember that. But yeah, like we're not perfect people. Nobody in this world is perfect, and you can't expect perfection out of somebody that's not. It's impossible.
Yeah. I love that. And it's so true because we set these standards for ourselves that don't exist. No one put them on us but us. And sometimes let's be honest, there are other people who put those standards on us, but they don't have the authority to do that. We give them that authority no matter who they are. And I know you've been in those situations where people have made themselves authority figures in your life to put those standards on you. And it's great. Like you mentioned, like as Lil Boozy said, dust it off your shoulder because this isn't where you're living your life anymore. And so I think there's something beautiful in that for sure. But I think too, what you've shared is as you started to become more of yourself and kind of sitting in that space, I think there's something to be said about how you're building in balance. You're in a fun place in your life right now, which is you are finally kind of getting to travel the way, not necessarily maybe the way you want to per se, but at least it's not in that same pressure situation. And so I'm curious for you in this life, you know, you're going from one place to another constantly. How are you finding balance? What does balance look like for you? And how are you kind of sharing that too? So other people are seeing like, yeah, I'm constantly going, but this is how I'm showing my balance.
Oh yeah. I mean, I drink, not too much, but like
so we got wine on the show.
I would drink, but I have to go scout at some point today. So I can't scout buzz.
That's fair.
But, yeah, I just have fun. Like whether I don't have to drink, like I can go out, I can just get out of my hotel room, just close the iPad, put my notes up and just separate yourself from whatever you're doing. Because like I said, like, even though like I bring myself into my job, I still have to put on a different persona when I'm in my job. Like, cause I gotta be professional and then take the pants off, put some shorts on, do whatever you want to do, go have fun, like go get a drink or listen to music. Just disconnect to reconnect is what I talk about.
I like that. Disconnect to reconnect.
Yeah. If I'm struggling with something, I'm at writer's block. I don't know what I want to say to this kid. I'll take an hour or two, just disconnect, and I won't think about it. I'll go out, go hang out, go watch a movie, go walk around whatever city I'm in, come back, and you'd be surprised at how much better I'm writing, and I feel better, and I just flow through my work. But yeah, take some time to yourself, and just like I said, be still, like enjoy the day. Like you're alive. Like geez, like it could. I always say, if I'm stressed, I say it could be 10 times worse.
That's true. And I think what you say too around that, like I think about kind of our family, the way that we as siblings, and I think mom has kind of instilled a lot of this in us too, is that ability to be like, it is okay. Like you're gonna be okay. Just kind of step away. And I think that's definitely something that's been probably ingrained in us. I think more so as we become adults and we're starting to figure out, life can be difficult and, for lack of a better word, shit happens, but we don't have to live in that. Like we can choose to, like you said, I love the disconnect to reconnect. I think that's a perfect way to kind of describe this, and to describe the conversation that is you and who you are and where you've come from and what that looks like for you. And so if there was, as you're thinking about Josh, I think about like 16-year-old Josh playing high school ball with all the pressure of the world on him. And now 28-year-old Josh. And I don't usually ask people this, but I'm curious for you because as my brother, I'm like, I would love to know what he would tell 16-year-old Josh, because I saw 16-year-old Josh, but I don't know what that dialogue would look like. So if you were talking to 16-year-old Josh right now, what would you tell him?
Poor kid. I give him a hug.
He gets a nice, poor Josh.
I give him a beer too. I'm like, here, man, just don't tell mom and dad, just drink this. Like, I know what you're going through.
Don't tell mom and dad.
Yeah. Well, fast forward to 18-year-old Josh, if he's not sensitive. Oh, I guess you can't drink 18 either.
You can't drink 18 either. 21-year-old Josh is a different Josh. So.
Yeah, but no, I would tell them it's gonna be all right. Things gonna fall in place. Like, go have fun. Like, literally don't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah.
I'd probably slap him in the face too. And be like, stop worrying.
No, that's fair. That's a good one because I think we don't talk about how we were and where we've grown from. And I think that's so important. So Josh, today, as you're thinking about kind of what future forward looks like for you, what are some things that you feel like you're infusing in your life now to help really guide you along your journey so you can keep growing, but you're still being true to yourself?
Can you rephrase the question for me? I didn't hear it that well.
Oh yeah, no, that's no problem. I was probably drinking my wine at that time anyways. So thinking about like, as you're moving forward, like in your journey, so Josh now, you've gotten to like a better space for sure in your life and like where you want to be. So as you're thinking about the next phase, as you're moving into that next phase of your life and continuing to grow, what are some of the things that you're taking with you kind of from your own learning, things that you've learned about yourself?
Oh, perfect. Just like I said, just not taking myself too seriously, just relaxing when I can, and keeping a good circle around me too is one thing. Making sure the people that are around me are the people that are pushing me up or calling me out when I need to be called out. Like, I got some friends here that are scouting as well, and we talk if we're stressed. Having someone to vent to is a big one. Like having someone just not lay your problems on, but just talk them out. Someone just listen to you. That's probably one of the best things ever. Because once you just talk something out, it honestly feels like it goes away. But and like I said, just being true to yourself. If you're having a tough day, like, it's okay. It's okay to have a tough day. Like, it's going to happen. Yeah. And the big thing I think about, like, if I'm stressed now, I just want to play it. I'm like, in 15, 20 years, like, is this going to be a huge deal in my life? No. Like, I'm going to look back and laugh like, "Dang, you were stressed about that." Like, I do that all the time.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Like, is this going to matter 15 to 20 years from now?
Yeah, is this going to matter in 30 minutes?
That's a good point. That's a good question. Well, and you bring up the kind of crew of people around you, and I know your crew people, I'm sure they are watching. So thank you for your being part of the Fearlessly Made You crew and the Josh Tobias crew. But how important is it? Like you touched on that, but I think people need to hear that, like, being in isolation is not healthy, but how important is it for you with having those right people around you? Like, have they helped kind of move you through the different Joshes, the different phases of you as well?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll shout about, Chelsea and Molly, like, they've seen me at Stress Josh in high school. They've seen me at Stress Josh in college, and they've seen me at Stress Josh in pro ball. And they've seen me at me now. So, like, having someone that knows you from where you came from, and just you all grow together. That's a big thing. Like, you should have people in your life that are, like I said, are going to grow with you. And that are putting as much energy in your life as you're giving to them.
Yes.
And that's a big thing that I like. Like, if you're not, it's okay. And it's okay to cut people out of your life, not cut them out completely, but it's okay not to fuck with somebody. If they ain't pulling their weight, smell you. Like,
yep. You don't
it's
have to
okay.
be part of
It's
it.
okay. That's life.
That's true. I love that. So I think the disconnect to reconnect, don't try and build perfection out of an imperfect person. And the making sure that you've got the right people around you is so key. So, when we talk about the right people around you and you love to have fun and you are always so energized, and I love to have fun with my brother as well and the rest of our siblings, there's always, you already know, I love my wine. That's my go-to, any kind of wine. But I always ask everyone, do you have a go-to beverage, a go-to drink, a wine or a beer or something that you just like, this is it, like people need to know about this beverage?
Is it like one beverage, or is it like if I'm just drinking one drink at night, or is it like I'm going out for the night?
As Josh, you are younger than I am, so that is a different life that I understand. Just kidding. It's up to you. It's whatever comes to your mind.
If I'm out and I'm just getting back from a game and I'm tired, I always drink a Founders All Day IPA. I love them. They're not always everywhere. They're so good. It's my favorite beer.
Okay. I like it. That came out real quick too. You knew it. From.
So I want one right now.
Well, maybe you can get one after you finish your game. Josh, I honestly, it's so cool to be able to bring my family on Fearlessly Made You, because I admire every single one of my siblings. I admire my family. I admire our journeys. And I think that there's something powerful in us all bonding and sticking together with each other. So I appreciate you being on Fearlessly Made You and being honest and vulnerable about your journey. But also being my brother, not going to have a sappy moment by any means, but just, I love you. And I think that I mean the world to you. You mean the world to me. I know I mean the world to you too. But I appreciate you so much for being on Fearlessly Made You. So thank you, Josh, for being part of my Fearlessly Made You crew.
Oh yeah, thank you for letting me come on. I mean, I've been following it. It's an honor to be on here. I know it's a great movement. Obviously, the book too. Everything's just been going great. So I feel proud of you as a brother of what you do and what you're continuing to do. And obviously, it's going to keep going. You're going to keep being successful as you've always been.
Thank you. Well, guys, thank you again for tuning in, and stay tuned for the next episode of Fearlessly Made You.